Alright, so doing some work at the yard. This is the water heater that I bought, but it came with a, the knob is broken off. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take this known bad circuit board out of here, then take the circuit board out of there, put it in here, and then test it out when I'm finished. There we go. So broken, we know this one's faulty, clearly broken. And just go ahead and reinstall it. Got a lot of these. Seem to go on forever. I'm trying to sell them as fast as I can. Some of them show up with the spark broken. Let's see over here. Some of them show up without the valve, which I'm trying to show you. Some of them are kind of dinged and dented. So I've got them all labeled. I just put an S where I see the spark, and an NS where I see no spark. So I know I don't want to sell that to somebody. I'm trying to show you what it looks like. There we go. So some of them showed up without any valves on them at all. And only paid like $20 for these. Rather than have them destroy them, I figured I could replace the valve, fix the burner assembly, use this burner assembly where if this is sparking, put this in a machine where I have no spark. If I bought a couple of them that were just in such bad shape that I wouldn't sell them, but they had the valve and the burner assembly, so I took those valves off, used those valves where there's no valve. So just kind of cobbling parts together a little bit. Let's see, that's another one here. Yeah, I think that's another one back in there. No valve. I think that one has no valve. That one's got a valve. This one has no valve here, so anyway, got my work cut out for me here, so I spend a little time on the weekend. Doesn't take too long, it takes about 45 minutes, maybe half an hour to fix the spark problem. Kind of got it down to a little bit of a science. So get all my parts together, and then got some valves over here that I was able to get off of those machines. These are actually really robust. I mean, look at these things. They got a brass end to them, a copper tip on the end to determine the temperature. And I got these two off of a water heater that someone had tossed because it was leaking, so I can use these parts to put it. These will actually fit directly into those tanks. So I got 2 valves, 3 valves, and a burner assembly. Then some of these burner assemblies. This is kind of what's going on with the spark. So the design leaves the spark rod here at the top, and then there's just so much heat that it ends up melting this sort of plenum, this plastic plenum wire here on the end, and eventually it breaks or exposes the wire, and then it starts arcing across. This one's actually bad too, but you can feel it inside here. It's like a hard ball. So it gets so bad that it won't allow the electricity to pass down and put the spark down here where it should be. It ends up out here and non-existent at all. So there's a lot of good parts on here. You know, the thermopiles are good. And this burner assembly looks pretty crappy, so the water heater was probably leaking. But I just kind of stockpile them over here and then use the parts that are good to replace the parts that are bad on another one. And then just kind of toss everything else. But yeah, it's a lot of repairing these spark rods. So as long as there's wire coming out of the actual rod itself, like at least 1 inch or 1/4 inch, then I just cut it back here, patch in a section, and use heat shrink over it, and then I slide some of this. I have a bunch of this sort of shielding for the heat, and I'll slide a section in and kind of anchor it right in about here or here to try and give it some protection. So that's how I fix that no spark problem. It's a bunch of work. Alright, so here is the shields I was telling you guys about. They're really difficult. Once they get mislodged, you have to come in through the front and try and line that up and get that thing to drop in. Really difficult to do. I usually just remove them and get them out. This one's intact. I actually changed out a combustion chamber with this type. So I put this type in. This is for a 50-gallon, and I replaced a 40-gallon combustion chamber. So that's how I was able to get a complete heat shield intact. So I can kind of show you. I guess it's a heat shield. I'm not really sure what it's for. I think it kind of reduces the oxygen, but you can see how small this clip is. See it? See how small it is? And if it was larger like that, then it would be a lot easier to get it to drop in. But I did a conversion. I do a conversion of the combustion chamber, so that way I can install this type of Bradford White burner assembly in there, and then that allows me to use, you know, a valve like this. And if I can do that, then I can use the parts. Let's say, for example, I did that on this water heater, then I could take this burner assembly and this valve, put this valve in one of the heaters that's missing a valve, take this burner assembly if it's got spark on it, and put it in a different water heater that has a sparking problem. So that's kind of the options. I had to find a couple Bradford White water heaters that were leaking, and then I just took the parts on them and pulled the bottom off, and you can just tap these combustion chambers. They just drop right off. They use like this glue, some kind of glue. They glue them on, but this glue isn't very strong, and it kind of you know, probably just gets hot over time and then just falls off. So you can just tap it with a mallet and it'll drop right out. So I got one for a 50 gallon and one for a 40 gallon. And I'll probably show you what that conversion's like. It kind of takes a while. It takes about an hour, maybe a little bit longer than an hour. And so this is the entire combustion chamber. This is the screen that's on the bottom. You can see it's called a flame arrestor. You can see how huge they are. Let's see if I can. There you go. There's a real good example looking at the sun there. How much oxygen it lets in. So really good design. Allows the air to travel one way. That way flame can't get back out. And these are the heat shields. So the shields are really difficult to get out of there. So you gotta fold them up inside and pull them out through the front. So looks like I've taken out maybe 5 of them so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And yeah, real fun getting these out. But once they're out, just lets more oxygen in. So I like to do that when I'm digging in. So when I work on this one later today, I will pull the burner assembly, leave the valve. I take a grinder and I grind down this edge right here. This edge right here. That way when I put the burner assembly back in, it doesn't want to catch the pilot assembly. The pilot assembly always wants to catch right here. So if you kind of grind a little groove down in here, you can take it out and put it back in a lot easier. So that's the work I do. I flush it out with a compressor. I get a compressor in there and just clean it all out real good, grind down the edge, pull the burner assembly out, repair the spark issue, reinsert it all, and then test it out. So these are the modern, this is like the modern Bradford White valve right here. I'm sure you guys have seen these before. Takes the chamber sensor on the bottom. So this came out of a relatively new Bradford White. So did that burner assembly, came with it. And I also pulled the combustion chamber off. I think it was that 50 gallon. So I figured parts and combustion chamber. That just gives me more options for parts, because I have so many of the same type of Bradford White water heaters, and they're all in varying states of a little bit of maintenance needed on them. So yeah, this is the new Icon system. This is what you'll see on a modern Bradford White. And of course, this is what we're working with here. I kind of like these just because they're, I mean, no more plastic, right? Or this is pre-plastic. I mean, these things are robust. No code 5s on this. There's supposed to be a way in the back here. There's 2 little tabs. If you can push down on those, this actually slides out. But I have had no luck. I mean, when you need like a special tool or something, when you push down on the tabs, it's actually in your way to slide it out. So I don't know how they did it, because they were able to get the valves off the other one. That's why you see just that section sitting there. But I haven't figured out how to push these tabs in and get this thing out of here. I can't figure it. It's beyond me. All right. Yeah, so you see that? See the exposed spark wire? Try and get it real close. So that's what's going on. You can see it pretty good. So I'm gonna convert it. I'm gonna take that new icon system and that burner assembly and put it on this water heater. That'll give me a chance to fix that later, and then I'll have an extra valve that I can use to jump over to one of those other ones. Kind of see some of the crap that's on here when it comes out. Sediment. Pop that off. Pop that up. That's what it looks like with the combustion chamber out of it. It's just a concave tank there at the bottom. This is some of the leftover kind of glue that's melted on here. Get that out of there. A little crinkle in the back. Maybe I'll straighten that out while I'm in here. Whenever I put it back together, I always use a longer screw, longer self-tapping screw, and I put about twice as many in there. So that way it's stronger, doesn't fall apart. And the reason I took the combustion chamber off is I just had a hell of a time trying to get this thing out. give you a little look. So it's put back together. I just add more screws, self-tapping screws all over the place. Chamber sensor, you just kind of tap it back in. I just tried to kind of eyeball it with where its location is. The line that's coming out of it is flexible, so that's helpful. And everything's all cleaned out with compressed air and wiped down with a wet towel. Okay, so we're ready to reinstall the burner assembly and the valve, but first I want to grind this edge down a little bit. Fits in there so much nicer. Take just a little bit of metal off, about 6 inches, just kind of grind it down a little, and it drops right in. Clean up the threads. Nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors. Alright, there we go. Well, usually I don't have to drill out new holes, but it's just a little bit easier to do that when it's not perfectly lined up. Get my impact. Hold on a second. What goes on behind closed doors? So, this is what we're looking at here. Oh yeah, I doubt you could see the spark, but it is robust. We like that a lot. So unfortunately this kind of gives the false impression that this is a new water heater, but if somebody asks me the year, I'll tell them. But it sure looks good. And she's all cleaned out. So yeah, now we got an extra valve to work with. I think it's over here. Just gotta fix this bad boy. That's a pain in the ass. So we got more parts and pieces to help us on our way. Okay, we don't want to forget to secure the back here. Button her up, put some stitches in it. Alright, so we want to test it out. So, here at the workstation, we'll do some testing. Okay, we'll let it purge for a minute. Alright, so recap. We changed the valve, we changed the burner assembly, we cleaned the combustion chamber, we added some screws on the bottom pan to keep it from being loose. What else did we do? Seems like we did something else too. Just cleaned it out with a lot of compressed air, which really helps it breathe. So now we're gonna test her out, make sure she's working. Here we got pilot light. Oh. Okay. Heard the valve click over. Waiting for the LED, not seeing an LED. Oh, what a bummer, man. Oh, there we go. It's blinking red a bunch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Blinking 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see what that is for Bradford White. 5 flash. Thermostat well fault. Oh, it is called a well. So that's like a 5 flash. That's a bad that's a bad sensor, right? Which I did notice it didn't have the little metal cap on the end. So let's see if it fires up anyway. Probably won't. Oh yeah. So it did. Maybe we can do a reset procedure on it. Maybe we don't want to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 5. Hard to do a reset procedure when the water heater's empty. Just don't want to let it run that long, you know, with no water in it. So yeah, I could just change the valve, or I could put a new well housing on the back. I think I have one of those. for this type of valve. Alright, so had some camera problems. I changed out the thermistor. It's really all I can do. I don't have another housing that I can swap out. So I just changed out the faulty sensor that it told me about. And now we're going to put the valve back. And put the cover back in. That only takes one click. That's nice, but it does take 4 screws to get the cover on. Not a big fan of that. So it takes a screw on every corner, which is 4 times the work here. I don't know why they did that. Probably to keep people from messing with it. Alright, let's try that again.
Great field position for the Steelers, and they punch it in 5 plays later. There was a pass interference that helped out and helped get them inside the 15, and then after Russell Wilson picked up.
Alright, all appears to be good here. Got that code cleared out. Try and get you a shot. The burner potentially. Yeah, this is it. This is the conversion. Basically just changed the burner assembly and the valve to get around that spark problem. Probably about the same amount of work, really. Oh yeah. Appreciate you watching this video, and we will see you on the next one. Consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you.